In 2006, the NFL players were getting 57.5% of league revenue. We're going to be doing a lot of math today. Giving you that forewarning. 57.5% of league revenue, and they were playing 16 regular season games. Well, what has happened since then? The latest deal, the last one done by DeMaurice Smith, he negotiated for about 47% of league revenue and a 17-game schedule. So let me get this straight. You were getting a majority of the revenue in 2006. Now in 2020, which was the last CBA, and we'll get to some of the length of terms for these CBAs, which is ridiculous with what DeMaurice Smith has done. It set a horrific precedent. And as someone that has worked in the labor force and worked for a union and has been a shop steward, it is ludicrous what DeMaurice Smith set as a precedent going forward, that any labor executive worth his salt will look at that deal, the deals that DeMaurice Smith has done, and will laugh at them. But we'll get there. You go from 57.5% of league revenue and playing 16 games to now with this last CBA in 2020, when we were in the middle of a pandemic, by the way. You're now only getting 47% and you're playing an extra game. So I lose 12%. Excuse me, I lose over 10% of the revenue. And I got to play an extra game? Where's the win for the NFL players? Well, they get less practice time, less mandatory workout time, less OTAs. So you're telling me having a few more days off is worth giving back over 10% of the share of the bread that is born off your blood, sweat, and tears? The NFLPA agreed to those terms. This is why the NFLPA is laughed at. This is why the NFL players are mocked. That's why when a baseball player walks in the room, an NFL player got to get quiet. Because for every Patrick Mahomes, there's a Shohei. Shohei walks in and he's got $750 million. And it's guaranteed. No funny money. No roster bonuses 10 years out that he has to hit just to get that bread. That bread is all guaranteed for Shohei, unlike Patrick Mahomes. When a basketball player walks in the room, a football player's got to fall back because that bread is guaranteed. Even a hockey player, when a hockey player walks in the room, as anonymous as they are to you and I, a football player will quickly find out they need to fall back because all of their bread is also guaranteed. So if you're not going to get the guaranteed bread, you at least want to get more of a lion's share of the profits, of the revenue that's being generated off of the fact that you're playing this sport at a high level and it's the #1 TV show every single year. But yet and still the players have lost a percentage of the revenue over every single CBA since 2006. This is almost 20 years later. How have you lost over 10% of revenue in 20 years? And you still don't have no guaranteed money. If you told me we'll take less of the revenue if we can get all of our money guaranteed, I would still have my reservations about it, but at least you're getting something worthwhile. All you've gotten off of losing a percentage of the profit is a couple more days off, a few less mandatory workouts. So you get to spend a few more weeks in Cancun. That's worth losing over 10% of the revenue. When you have players that are being cut because they kissed a player on the forehead, that shows you that the players have no power and that their union is laughed at, is mockable. If your union was worth its salt, if a player had a misconduct, even if you want to deem it that, if we really want to deem whatever Christian Wilkins did to be team misconduct or player misconduct, he will be chastised, might then be suspended, might even be fined, but not just straight up released, because his union, a strong union, a powerful union, a union that has leverage and stroke, would arbitrate and grievance the hell out of that and get him his bread. And you see here, expect owners to seek 18 games and potentially a greater share of the revenue when the current deal expires after the 2030 season. So there's a good opportunity that this 47% that the players are hanging on to tooth and nail could get even lower, could be an even lesser payout for players. Yet they're going to play one more game this time around. Then you know 20 coming. I mean, Roger Goodell's been running around talking about 20 low-key for the last couple of years because 18 is already a foregone conclusion because the NFL Players Association, the union, is a joke. When the owners don't even blink twice about publicly talking about what they're expecting to get in a negotiation that's 5 years away, they already know you're food. They're planning for you to be food in 5 years. They're telling you that. They're expecting you to be food in 5 years and for you to give it up, give us even more of the bread, and we're going to make you work more. In what scenario is this justifiable? In what scenario is this fair? You're working more, but you're getting less. Where else do we do that? So how did we get here? DeMaurice Smith is problem number one. DeMaurice Smith in 2010, after Gene Upshaw unfortunately passed away, he took over for Gene Upshaw. He locked in a 10-year deal off rip. So from 2010 to 2020. 2020, when that deal was expired. Now again, 10 years is unprecedented in any labor agreement. That's unprecedented, no matter what sector, whether it's sports, healthcare, any of that. 10 years of peace with no opt-out, by the way. It's not like how these contracts where team option, player option. No. 10 years straight through. Guaranteed success. Guaranteed leverage. The NFL has been able to capitalize off of the fact that the players gave away 10 years of their negotiating power by doubling, tripling, and sometimes quadrupling their value outside of the players. All these streaming rights, all these specialized games where now the NFL has come after Christmas. They're taking over Kwanzaa Eve. They're doing Black Friday games. They're taking it to another level where they're increasing their presence. They want more international games. They have been able to flip multiple times off the backs of the players while the players are locked into shitty deals. So DeMaurice Smith does that first 10-year deal, no opt-out, straight up. It expires during the pandemic. Everyone is scared. A lot of unions were being eradicated. A lot of unions were being downsized. A lot of unions' impacts were being diminished. The NFL and its owners and its lawyers and its commissioner seized on that opportunity and got up on DeMaurice Smith and was able to coax him to a horrible deal. Again, this last deal here says it. Again, you started at 57.5% of the revenue. And in 2020, you're somehow agreeing to only 47% and playing an extra game just for some days off. Just for some extra days off. Of course, owners signed that deal. So wait, we're already billionaires. Our valuations of all of our franchise have increased 2- and 3-fold since the last CBA. We're making money, so much money that we can't even, we're having hard times hiding the money. We're having hard times trying to keep the valuations private because we're all up. And all you want in this next one is just some more days off, and you're willing to give back some more bread for them days off? When we can cut your contract anyway, what good is an NFL contract when if you're Christian Wilkins, you could be cut and your money is no longer guaranteed. So you're giving back more of the revenue. We already can cut your money whenever we want to, and all you want, you're willing to give us even more money just for some more days off? And we can make you work more? The owners are tap dancing on the players, and the players are silly enough to think, like Micah Parsons, that he has a negotiating power to have a deal with Jerry Jones and get a deal done. That's why you need a union. Because when you have players who are potting, that think they're part of hashtag new media, that think that they know more than the regular person, when they're getting screwed by a savvy oil man, a savvy billionaire multiple times over, like Jerry Jones, Michael Parsons, you cannot go toe-to-toe with Jerry Jones. This is what the NFLPA has created. There's such a distrust for its own union that players are trying to negotiate their own deals, and they're being exposed for it. And Michael Parsons is just the latest one. So DeMaurice Smith signs this last deal. Again, another 10-year block, because on the surface it's seen as labor solidarity. The NFL and its players were so kumbaya that we're good for a decade. And while that sounds good on the most surface of surfaces, what it's ignoring is that the NFL is re-upping their media rights every couple of years. And those deals have opt-outs, and they're cashing in. Yet NFL players are stuck at whatever level they were at 2020, while the league, the Shield, has continuously flipped multiple times and increased their value multiple times in that same time frame. So since 2020, the players are locked in. Nothing can improve. There's no opt-out. There's no window to renegotiate. The NFL, in that meantime, has gotten out of the pandemic, got that value back from the pandemic, and has increased it double and triple fold since the pandemic. Yet the players are not going to get one penny more because of it, because they got locked into a 10-year deal when they had no business to, when there was no reason to. And that's why the NFLPA is by far, if nothing has been proven this summer, it's been this. If you've learned nothing else this summer, let it be this. The NFLPA is one of the worst unions, not just in sports, but in all of labor.